Hey everybody, Brennan here with Team Top Cut, coming at you with the second volume of the player prep series for Vanquish Soul. So this is interesting. This is an interesting moment for me because I have been probably a fanatic. It's the best way to describe it for this deck since it came out, right? When Vanquish Soul came out, this was 2023. I was in a weird spot with the game. I had basically my whole time playing the game, at least competitively, I have been glued to particular decks for long periods of time. And I'm sure some of you can relate to this, where it's just a deck that you resonate with, that you click with, that, maybe it's the first one you ever saw success on, or the first one that you really, clicked with. And for me, I went through these periods of time of just being the guy that played that deck. So it started with Geargia, played that for a couple of years, and then that moved over into Cubics. I don't know. Then I bounced around, tried out some meta decks, Trickstar Stun back when that was meta. And then I swapped over to Sky Striker. And Sky Striker was my gateway into real competitive Yu-Gi-Oh, topping regionals, going to YCSs, playing in nationals. It was the deck that really introduced me to the grander world of competitive Yu-Gi-Oh. Now, 2023, I had become disillusioned with the game. I sort of lost my connection to it, and I didn't really know what I was going to play. I had played Abyss Actors for years at that point, and it was just completely and totally without a viable justification during Kashtira format. I mean, Vanguard Era locking a Pendulum Zone, I lose the game. So I had to pick something else. And so I played Runic Stun for a while I kind of floated without the sense of identity. I was just going to kind of wait out Kashtira. And then a buddy of mine, his name's Leon. Leon, if you're watching this, love you, bud, said, hey, I think you'd really like this deck. And I've always been a little bit of a cynical person when it comes to new stuff coming out. I tend to think that's going to be worse than it is, or I tend to be a little bit resistant to changing decks. And it comes from that place of playing the same deck for years and years and just being, that guy that plays that deck. I mean, I would go to locals and people would know that I play Abyss Actors. God, it was interesting. It was interesting. And then I tried it. And funny enough, I think I got one match in against Leon before Nationals with the deck. One match. I had no clue how to play the deck. I thought that you could use both effects, both bullet points in the same turn. Found out the hard way that you could. I was like, oh my god, wait, this deck's so bad. And then I went to Nationals and I got my first ever day 2, 2023 Nationals with the deck. And I'll be honest that I let the deck down. My round 11, I misplayed the perfectly sculpted hand to win that round. If I win that round, I basically guarantee myself a top cut. Instead, I bubbled out. But if I win round 11, I top that Nats. And ever since then, I've just been in love with this deck. This has been the only deck that I've ever really just had fun on, even when I'm losing. I love Vanquish Soul with every ounce of my being as a player. And those who know me know how much I love this deck, know how I will do anything I can to play this deck. I switched to Ryziol. I tried different Ryziol builds. I played pure Ryziol when that was still a thing, back before the ban list. This most recent one. And ever since that ban list, I've just been back on playing Vanquish Soul. And Fiendsmith build, Blind Second build, Impulse Fire Attacker build. I've just been messing around with it. Just love the deck so much, and I've been actually doing really well recently, and that was satisfying. And then we get the announcement of support, and to go from being as happy as I was with the deck, and as content as I was playing the deck, and as successful as I've been playing the deck, to find out that finally we're getting love and support, and not just that, but good cards. And you guys are going to see that. I'm sorry I'm going on this massive rant about Vanquish Soul and my experience with it. It comes from a place of love, I swear. But I'm going to get into it here. I'm going to show you guys just what there is to love about this deck and why it's so fun, why it's so unique, why it's so interesting. And I'm going to show you the support and the new cards coming out, and we're going to talk about Vanquish Soul. And so the reason why we're getting a Volume 2 is because Volume 1 does not cover the support, and the support fundamentally alters just about everything we did with this deck beforehand, to like such a massive degree. You wouldn't think that 3 cards would have this big of an impact, but they do. They do, and we'll show you. Ready? Oh, uh-oh. That's not supposed to happen. Okay. Here we go. So that's our Team Top Cut logo. I've changed it from the previous one. I hope you guys like it. I'm still iffy on it. I'd love to hear your feedback. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so table of contents. Here we go. About Vanquish Soul, Archetype and cards. This was in the first video. I'm going to go through this a little bit quicker, just because it was in the very first one. But I'll introduce the new cards when I get to them and maybe give them a little bit more time. Number 2, changes. What's new? Number 3, strategy, game plan, and win cons. Obviously, a lot of this stuff was in the previous one, so I've really only tried to cover the new material, and then anything that is relevant that is a carryover from the previous episode, I'll get through, and I'll get through quickly. I'm trying to make this episode something that you can watch without having to need to have seen the first one. But, you know, obviously encouraging you to go watch the first one as well, because we need views on our content, ha ha ha. Anyway, number 4, the SWOT, the strengths and weaknesses. Number 5, the options, so different builds that we have available to us. And then number 6, deck list and gameplay. So here we go. Number 1, about Vanquish Soul, so the breakdown of every card and their function. Rosin and Mad Love, these are the effects. Prior to the support, this was bar none the best card in the deck. This was the most important card of the deck, to the point where a lot of builds of the deck were basically built as Rosin or bust. And so a lot of the cards that you would play would basically be searchers for Rosin. Mad Love, thank God. The new support turns Mad Love into a starter as well. That's all we needed. All we needed. We used to play this card at 1, maybe at 2 if you were feeling saucy. And now it's a 3 of. Now it is almost a mandatory 3 of. This deck needed normal summons, and I'm glad that we got it in the form of making the existing normal summons better rather than just printing new cards. We did get new cards though. We did get new cards. Okay, Caesar and Borgard, these are the boss monsters of the deck, so to speak. They're big guys. These are the ones that tag in and out. So if you're familiar with like the Tenkaichi Budokai fighting games, you know, you can tag in your other fighting characters. This is what gives the deck mobility, and I think mobility is a really important aspect of modern gameplay in Yu-Gi-Oh! Being able to dodge interaction, being able to move cards from location to location as quick effects. These are the cards that do it. If you're winning games, it's off the backs of these cards. So while the previous cards will help you get set up, these are the ones that are going to be winning you games. These are the level 5s. I could not find an English picture of this. Maybe I'm just because I'm making the video too soon. I'm trying to get this released on the day of the sneak peek for Duad. So people can watch this before their sneak peek tournament. And, you know, once they get their copy of the cards. But these are level 5s. These guys are going to be very important in Justice Hunters format, maybe not in Duad. Holy Sue is obviously going to be very important very quickly, but Xiaolong, this card is interesting right now because the introduction of Holy Sue basically makes the ratios of this card almost impossible to get right. I've seen arguments for 1, 2, and 3. I think all arguments hold weight and are wrong. So I guess we'll find out what the optimal build is with time. For right now, I really like this guy. I played it 2, just because there's times where you want to be searching it with Rosin while you already have one in hand because you want that second fire. We'll get there. We'll get there. Point is, this guy searches any card on the deck, and funny enough, he's actually a very important win con against some decks that you might face. Like I played against a U-Bell guy at Locals. This card's effect to change things to battle position genuinely carried me that game. Against Memento, Xiaolong carries me. Holy Sue might be like the perfect support card. We're going to get into the effects later. I'm just trying to go through everything right now quickly, but Holy Sue was probably the perfect support card for the deck. Like, genuinely perfect. The only thing that I could think of that would make her more perfect is if she was level 3, so we could summon her off of E-Telly. But I guess it works out with being level 5, you know, works out for Justice Hunters format. So I don't want to complain too much. Phenomenal support. And she completely changes the way that we play the deck. I'll get into that a little bit later, but wow, what an impactful support card. Seriously. Okay, these are the sort of black sheep monsters of the deck. You've got Pantera. I think she's a one of. I like her ability to destroy spells and traps in the column. I like that she's a free summon, so if I normal Rosin, you know, I can add Pantera if something happens to the Rosin, like if they chain SP targeting him, and I don't have a way to dodge it, or, you know, If, let's say I'm going to be Link climbing with my cards and I still want to be able to make rock, it'd be nice to have her in hand. Doesn't come up that much, but when she does come up, it's pretty important. Pluton, love this guy. I don't know if he'll ever get played again. Sorry, Pluton. I remember when I used to play you at 1. He's a fun little guy, but I just don't see him being in decks. It'd be nice. It'd be nice. Okay, so these are the extra deck monsters for the deck. Again, could not find an English copy. What Rocks brings to the table is, I think it's sort of like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Upon first look, the card does not seem very good. And obviously it's not going to be like the greatest thing ever, but there's actually a lot of utility that Rocks brings to the deck, which I like. And it does something else that I also like, which I'll get into a little bit later. But it involves like the interaction between Rocks and Rock. Which, if you notice, this is a back to front shot of this guy, just as a giant rock. Not what I expected him to look like. Okay, now into the spells. So this is Dust Devil. This is an interruption. Basically, this is meant as a Mad Love search if you're trying to interrupt the opponent. It's basically Book of Eclipse, but up to the number of Vanquish Souls. Continue, we use this as an extender. There are times where this can also be used as sort of an interruption on the opponent's turn, like you can summon a Rosin from your graveyard. Like with a really simple hand, you can go like Rosin. If it's just Rosin, you'll go like Rosin, search Mad Love. Link 1, summon the Mad Love, grab Continue. And then on the opponent's turn, you'll Rosin to summon back, and then to search, and then Column Pop. I really like Continue. There's a lot of people that are cutting it. I don't know how I feel about it in the new Vanquish Soul era. I'll be making lots of Vanquish Soul content, so you guys will hear what I think about Continue. I promise. Start. Okay, so this is the field spell. This was also a phenomenal support card for a couple of reasons. One, this is the card that makes Mad Love a starter. So you can target one Vanquish Soul monster you control, add one Vanquish Soul monster with a different attribute from your deck to your hand. If a Vanquish Soul monster you control be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can reveal one Vanquish Soul monster in your hand instead. During your end phase, if you control 2 or more Vanquish Soul monsters, you can set one Vanquish Soul trap from your deck. So there's a couple things that I really love about this card. First of which, makes Mad Love a starter. So you Mad Love, search this card, target Mad Love with it, add any Vanquish Soul monster you want. So Holy Sue, Rosin, I guess it can't be Borger, right? Caesar, really just kind of whatever you need for your hand, which is nice. The second is that it provides protection for your monsters. You just reveal the Vanquish Soul and you're good. And then the third is that you don't have to miss out on your trap card. And this was such a beautiful, beautiful addition by Konami, because Snow Devil is a phenomenal trap card. This card is arguably our win con as a deck. And start making it so that you can Mad Love to search start and still get Snow Devil was beautiful. A beautiful addition by Konami. Thank you so much for that, because I did not want to have to pick between these two. I didn't want to be stuck with the Blue Eyes dilemma of, do I search the Majesty to get the interaction to pop cards, or do I set the Roar to extend my plays, or the Wishes to get Roar to extend my plays, or whatever, right? I like that I can have both. These are the two traps that nobody plays, unfortunately. I think that they're just a little odd. I don't know. Maybe there will be a world where these cards become relevant at some point. I don't hate them. I just don't love them. I don't suspect that these cards will see play. Now, the interesting thing is that the field spell does allow for these cards to be played a little bit easier. Like, you just get access to them for free now from your deck. The biggest problem before was that you never wanted to be searching these cards. They either require too much setup or require too specific of a scenario. But start just letting you have a trap card for free might genuinely make the difference in whether or not one of these cards sees play. That said, I don't expect that to be the case. Okay. So now we're going to get into loose descriptions about what the purpose of every card is now. So Rosin is our primary resource generator. He's an interruption because he has an effect to Column Pop. So basically you reveal 2 attributes in your hand, Fire, Dark, destroy other monsters in its column. So interruption there. Primary resource generator because he searches any Vanquish Soul name except himself. Monsters, at least. And he's in Fire in hand. So I've included the attributes here, and you're not going to see me do that for any other deck when it comes to a player prep series, but it matters. And it matters for Vanquish Soul because I want you to think of the Vanquish Soul monsters as basically your fighting game characters. And their monster effect is to reveal an attribute in hand or attributes to do something. Think of that as like your button combo for like a fighting game. You know, you push your buttons in a certain sequence, you do a certain move set. These are your fighting game characters. The effects are your combo lines, or like the button inputs to do your combo moves in the fighting game. So, we've got the attributes there at the bottom because the names in hand matter for attributes as well, not just for what they bring to the game. Mad Love is now, if you go back to the previous video, you will see that it used to say secondary resource generator. It is now a primary resource generator. It's also an interruption because not only does it search a primary resource, but it can also search interruption. And on field, it has the effect to bounce a card from field to hand. That comes up a lot. And then additionally, it can reduce stats by 500. And then searches spells and traps. It is a dark in hand. Borger, I have as a secondary resource generator. Reason being is that it draws a card, non-specific. So you could draw anything. I will say I got very lucky with my Borger draws at locals last week, where I just happened to be drawing the droll off the top of the deck against decks like Mitsurugi, decks like Yubel, where I did not have interruptions in my hand, and I just really banked on drawing a hand trap, and Borger, bless, carried me, drew that droll off the top in their draw phase. Resource Retainer because it bounces a monster to hand, right? So the rosin that's on field is going back to my hand to be not just a fire in hand, but usable later, which is nice. Can draw 1 card per turn, can do burn damage, and it is a dark in hand. The burn damage matters. Caesar, same thing, Resource Retainer, right? It's going to bounce a card to hand. It is an interruption in the sense that it can pop a card. It non-targeting pops a card, which is beautiful. It's also a tower. It can make itself unaffected. And there's times where you're just going to summon that guy, make itself unaffected, and just sit there and say, okay, swing over it. And most of the time they'll be able to. It's 3k, which is big, but they're, you know, every deck has a way to get over that. But you're going to live more than likely. And then it's an earth as well. So, okay. We've got Xiaolong, primary resource generator, 2 fires reveal, makes it so that you can add any Vanquish Soul card except itself, which is nice. It is sort of an interruption. It has an ability to change battle position, non-targeting of a monster. That has been coming up a lot more than I was expecting it to, which I think is interesting. There was a time where I got nibbed. They summoned the nib token in defense, and I had chained a Vanquish Soul monster to summon the Xiaolong after the nib resolves. And I was able to Xiaolong put the nib token to attack and kill because the nib token was so big, which was beautiful, but rare. Beautiful, but rare. It searches basically every card in the deck except itself. And then it's fire in hand. It's also a free summon, which I've got to include, but it's not a free summon in the same way that like Pantera is. So Pantera is a free summon in the way that Fenrir is a free summon, where if you have no monsters in your main monster zone, you can summon her just as a, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm pretty sure it is an activated effect in hand though. She is an interruption in the sense that she can column pop spells and traps. So Rosin column pops monsters. She column pops spells and traps. And then she's an earth in hand. Pluton is a free summon. I'm pretty sure his effect just says that if it's your opponent's turn, you just kind of can summon him. It's been a while since I read Pluton, I'm not going to lie. Actually, you know what? I should have him right here. Yeah, during your opponent's turn, or if you can, no, if you control the monsters, I'm sorry, or only Vanquish Soul monsters. Cool. So basically a free summon, yeah. Where we were here. And then there's a fire in hand. And then Holy Sue, this is the new card. This is the new monster. Primary resource generator because she can summon from deck. She's also an interruption because she can take control. So she non-targeting steals, and then she summons from deck. And it depends on which attribute you reveal. So to summon from deck, it's Fire Dark. To take control, it's Dark and Earth, I think. So she's both an interruption and a primary resource generator. She's basically a, I don't want to say she's a better Rosin, but she's a pretty pretty good duplication. I mean, she summons from deck. She doesn't search, so that's a free body on board. And then she's also a free summon of herself, because all you have to do is reveal a Vanquish Soul monster in hand, and she summons onto the field. And that is a quick effect as well, so that can be used on the opponent's turn, which we're going to talk about why that's so significant. That effect means that you can do that turn 0. So if your opponent is going first, you can summon her from your hand on their turn. Genuinely fundamentally alters the way that this deck is going to be played, basically in perpetuity. It's huge. It is huge. And she's an Earth in hand as well. So these are the extra deck monsters. You've got Rock of the Vanquisher, is a resource retainer / free summon. Free summon because you can just link whatever Vanquish Soul monster you want off to summon it. And then it retains resources because it can add back. It's basically a free body in the sense that it's always going to replace itself. If you link one into it, you can always add back the card that you linked off, or you can summon a new one from hand. It has 2 effects. Quick effect during the main phase. You can summon from hand or add from grave to hand. So no matter what, you're getting your value back on the card in the form of the body back in hand or a new body on field to replace the old one that you linked off. It's also sort of an interruption. In a weird way, if that card's on the field and you have a Vanquish Soul monster on the field, your opponent has to attack the monster you control with the highest attack. So that could be Fenrir if you have Rosin and Rock on board. Then there is the Rocks, which, looking at that, right, its effects are interesting. Let me try to get the effects of Vanquish Soul Rocks. Because I should explain what the effect is. Here, I'll throw this up on the screen. So it is 2 level 4 Vanquish Soul monsters, 2+. And then once per turn, if a Vanquish Soul monster battled this turn, you can also XYZ summon Vanquish Soul Rocks by using 1 Vanquish Soul monster or 1 Rock of the Vanquisher you control. Transfer its materials to this card. What am I doing? Am I there? Yeah, I'm there. Sorry. Yeah, so... Oh, whoops. Nope. That's a non-engine master sheet. Whoopsie doodle. Close. Okay, here we go. So... its effects aren't that great, right? Basically, if a Vanquish Soul monster battles, you can XYZ summon it using 1 Vanquish Soul monster or 1 Rock of the Vanquisher. A lot of people are going to be using this to summon Zeus. The reason why I actually like this card is because it lets you link off Rock of the Vanquisher. So the monsters you control gain 1,000. This is going to help you get over some Towers monsters. This is going to come up with the Lunalight matchup, which that's going to be relevant with Duad. The new Lunalight support comes out. Dark makes your opponent's monsters weaker. So if you use Rock to summon it, it makes their monsters weaker. And then Earth, you can pop a card. That's not a quick effect. Should have been a quick effect. It would have made this card better. The issue is that you're almost never using an Earth to make this card if you can help it, because your Earths are going to be Holy Sue or Caesar, which have 2 better interruptions than this guy does. But that's not why I like this card. So the reason why I like this card is because it lets you link off Rock of the Vanquisher. Rock of the Vanquisher has an effect that says that you cannot link summon using it. Well, now you can. Just battle, slam Rocks on top in your main phase 2, and link climb for further interruptions. So basically what's happening is you're going to be doing some board breaking or putting up some damage by swinging, and then you're going to be linking off the Rock of the Vanquisher for new additional interruptions or interactions. Maybe it's an SP Little Knight to banish something from their graveyard, like a Murakumo. Maybe it is to go into Princess, to link climb your way up to like Amblo Whale or something, right? Point is, this gives you the opportunity to link off a Rock of the Vanquisher. I think that's going to come up more than people think it will, personally. That is why I like this card. Okay, spells. So Stake Your Soul, technically not a Vanquish Soul card, but it's part of the archetype. This is a resource generation type card. Basically, it's going to summon a card from the deck. So you reveal an attribute. It'll summon a monster from the deck of the same attribute, but a different name than the card that you revealed. You do not have to reveal a Vanquish Soul card. So it is a starter and an extender. The reason why I put the asterisk is because it relies on you having another card in hand. So this is not a 1-card combo deck in a traditional sense. This is always going to sort of be a 1.5 the 2-card combo deck just because of the nature of having to reveal attributes in order to really do things. This deck also doesn't really have linear combo lines in a direct sense. It's more of like a, if I have this plus these attributes, or this plus this attribute, or this plus stake your soul, instead of just like, oh, if I have rosin, I'm good to go, right? It's more about the cards around it than it is, you know, it's the starter and then the cards around it. Stake Your Soul is included in that. It's Stake Your Soul plus the cards around it. Continue, it's resource generation, summons a body from deck, or sorry, from grave, or adds it from grave to hand. It can be an extender. It can also be resource protection. So like, let's say a Bestial's targeting Orger in your graveyard, chain continue, I'll summon it back, right? Or called by targeting rosin, chain continue, summon it back. Not going to come up as like a protection thing often, but when it does, it feels nice. Dust Devil, it's an interruption and a board breaker. It's an interruption in the sense that it's going to book their monsters if they're trying to set up. It is a board breaker because if they have an existing board, it non-targeting books cards. The reason why I put an asterisk is because it requires setup in order to board break. You don't just get to do it for free. Like you do need bodies on board, and those bodies have to stick. And then start, resource generation, it's going to get your cards in hand, it's going to get you attributes you need, and it's going to set the trap. It's also, again, a starter with an asterisk because you need an attribute on board. You need a Vanquish Soul monster on board for it to really be worth it. And then it's also protection. They just glued a protection effect onto that card just because. Why not? You know, why not? Okay, the traps. Snow Devil is an interruption. It is a resource generation, and it is protection. Each effect gives you one of each. So Snow Devil is a trap that, we can go back to that card, has 3 different effects, and the effects apply sequentially based on the cards that you reveal. So if you reveal 1 of the Dark Earth Fire attribute, you inflict 400 damage, and then you can summon a Vanquish Soul. If you reveal 2, you deal an additional 600, and then your Vanquish Souls can't be destroyed by card effects for the turn. And then if you reveal 3, you deal an additional 800. And then you can destroy all monsters on the field. So it's a nice little board nuke, which is comfortable that your Vanquish Soul monsters survive. Deals 1800 damage, and it gives you a body on board. So it is, as we said, it is protection, in that your Vanquish Soul monsters are protected. It is a resource generation in the sense that you're summoning a body from hand. And it's an interruption because it board nukes. That card's nuts. That card's nuts. Calamity Caesar is a negate. It does burn damage, and it is protection. It is designed to protect your monsters from card effects. It does additional burn damage just for the sake of it, just because I don't know why Konami decided to add that in. And it negates an effect. That's always useful. But again, I don't expect that card to see much play. Maybe it will. Who knows? This is an interesting game. A lot of interesting things happen. Trinity Burst. This is an interruption, and it is free summons. This card does a whole lot of nothing, but that whole lot of nothing is really cool. It is technically an interruption in the sense that I'm pretty sure it bounces cards back to hand. See, I don't even know what the card does. Target 1 Vanquish Soul monster you control, special summon up to 2 Vanquish Souls with different names from each other, neither of which has the same attribute. So like if you target a fire, you'd summon a dark and an earth. But negate their effects and return them to the hand during the end phase. Then you can return to the hand all cards your opponent controls that are in the same columns. So interesting. So what's going to happen is you can bounce back up to 3 cards from the field with Trinity Burst. And it just gets you 2 bodies on board, just because. I don't think that card is ever going to see play. It just seems bad, in my opinion. If it didn't negate the effects of what it summoned, I could argue maybe it would see a little bit, but I don't know. Maybe non-targeting bounce back is just going to become really important in the near future. Who knows? Okay, changes. So what is different post-support? What is so different about the deck from the first player prep series I made for this deck to now that the changes are significant enough for me to make a whole nother video about it? Okay, so what has changed? Fundamental changes to how we pilot. So search priorities change. Which attributes and names we prioritize change. Combos and sequencing are potentially altered as well. Mad Love is now a starter, which is huge. We can cut and replace cards meant to search Rosins like Durandal, Small World. They suddenly become way less important. Small World might end up still seeing some play just because there's going to be tech cards that are going to be important to be searched. Like I said, Lunalight is a problem, so Small World letting us search Kaijus is pretty cool. I also like that it lets me search Lancia against Malice. Gonna throw that out there, wink wink. You can turn basically any fire in the deck or Holy Sue into Lancia, which is nice. Increase in available co-engines. So we're going to get into that later when I talk about different builds of the deck. But yes, new releases complement or empower. So there's a lot of things that have come out in the last couple of months here and are yet to actually be released, that will be released soon, that really complement Vanquish Soul and empower Vanquish Soul. How we win sorta changes. So Holy Sue's existence by herself warps and shifts the entire identity of the deck in ways that you might not have initially caught on to, which I'm going to get into a little bit later here, but she is sort of the key to success going forward. Whereas before it was Rosin, I would argue that Holy Sue is now kind of where the pivot point is on how we're going to be winning games. So this is getting into that, right? And so non-engine is that there. How to play. Turn 0, which is a very interesting way to go about the deck itself. I'm fascinated by their decision to make it a turn 0 deck. But basically, Holy Sue introduces a card that lets the deck play nearly full turns on turn 0. Let's say you open Holy Sue plus Fire and Dark. You're going to summon Holy Sue. You're going to reveal Fire Dark. This is on their turn, their first turn. So like, let's say they normal summon Dormouse. We'll go, okay, quick effect Holy Sue. Summon quick effect of Holy Sue. Reveal Fire and Dark. Summon Rosin from deck to Dormouse's column. Rosin effect to search. Grabbing Caesar. Rosin effect revealing Fire and Dark. Pop the Dormouse. Okay, great. Now they're going to activate March Hare in hand. Outstanding. March Hare is going to banish the Dormouse engrave. Dormouse is going to come back. I'm going to chain Caesar targeting the Holy Sue. Now I have Dark Earth Fire in hand. Caesar effect to pop the Dormouse. Now their turn just kind of stops. Additionally, you know, cards like Borger, Caesar being live turn 0 is kind of crazy. Like the fact that I can summon 2 Vanquish Soul bodies, the Holy Sue and the Rosin, that both have useful effects. The Rosin being able to search whatever attribute I would need, being able to column pop, and then that attribute basically being a pop in and of itself. Like, let's say I open the Borger there. What's going to end up happening is I'm going to go, okay, Holy Sue summon the Rosin, Rosin search the Caesar, Rosin column pop, Borger target Rosin, bounce back, Borger burn or draw, Caesar target Borger, or Holy Sue, if I depending on have an Earth or another Dark in hand, bounce back, Caesar pop. Now I have a Borger and a Caesar on board on their first turn. I've drawn a card. I've popped 2 cards. That's crazy to me. That is crazy to me how effective that is. So that's, I mean, in like a standard typical Vanquish Soul turn, at least like on the opponent's turn, that's basically a full turn. I mean, that is 3 forms of removal and 2 forms of resource generation on turn 0 without using any other hand traps, by the way. Any other hand traps, just Vanquish Soul cards. Which gets into the next point, right? Drawing well can functionally make the difference between going first and second negligible. There genuinely might not be that big of a difference between going first and going second with how this deck is going to be playing. If turns are so similar between going first and going second now, you know, just draw your attributes and you're fine. Turn 1 and turn 0 have the potential to be close to identical. It's kind of more back to that point. And then the Vanquish Soul engine has the potential to replace the need for excessive hand traps. So currently the way that we're building the deck is just trying to load up on properly attributed hand traps. And then cards that search Rosin and then Prey. That's not how I built the deck. That's how, you know, if you're going pure build, that's kind of how the pure build needs to be played before the support comes out. The Vanquish Soul engine having the luxury of replacing some hand traps, I think, is interesting, right? Because I don't need, for example, like Ghost Bell if I can just summon Vanquish Soul monsters on your turn that pop cards, steal cards, draw into other hand traps. Like, what good is a Ghost Bell? Just as like an example. Or like an Infinite Impermanence if one Vanquish Soul monster in Holy Sue does this much on its own. So at that point, actually seeing Vanquish Soul names matters now, and it matters more than seeing like a single hand trap might. And that's arguable at this current moment, just because of the fact that the existing meta that we are in right now in June, soon to be July 2025, is a lot about like silver bullets, so Drolls, Lancias, Charmies. So that might not be the case right this second, but this is more theoretical as like an overarching picture of the deck itself and the new cards. So non-engine, shifting over to the other side, even more important that non-engine does the following: be monsters, that matters. Be correct attributes, that matters. Lets you draw cards. So this is a big one for me, because if seeing Holy Sue in your opening hand and proper attributes is as impactful as it is on turn 0, it is 3 to 4 interactions at best, and at worst when it works. So my at worst in this case is when you do successfully get to summon and use Holy Sue. It is 1 to 2 interactions, which is crazy. That's crazy. So non-engine that lets you draw cards matters because you really want to be seeing Holy Sue. You really want to be seeing Holy Sue plus attributes. And so Charmies matter more. Phantasme gets way better. There's just a lot of cards that, as non-engine, becomes more significant for cohesion with the deck itself. Obviously, there's going to be things that we have to look at for non-engine that are format specific. So, like I said, Kaiju's earlier for Lunalight. If Lunalight becomes a big deal, that non-engine, it won't be about drawing cards. It'll be about like board breaking, but it'll have to be both monsters and correct attributes. So it's got to be around this. So like, yeah, we can not do this and do like Kaiju's, but then it's got to be these, right? Or shuts down entire turns, right? This may no longer be true post Justice Hunters, but as of right now, your Drolls, your Lancias, things like that. And then supplemental engines are still viable and potentially even correct. So, how previously like the Kashtira engine with Fenrir is like correct because it searches an earth and it's a free body, and it can also search a fire. Vanquish Soul Fenrir, ha ha ha. So, it's still possible that supplemental engines are potentially the correct way to build the deck, which is going to be absolutely true in Justice Hunters with K9. But I'm more talking about like right now, and potentially beyond just the Justice Hunters format. Okay, strategy. So paths to victory. This is a Joaquin Lopez quote. "The key to fighting is not being the fastest or strongest. It is about balance. A warrior must always keep his balance." I think that this is true for Vanquish Soul. Our deck is not about being the fastest or the strongest. Really, we just kind of do everything a little bit better than most other decks do. There are definitely faster decks or stronger decks, ones that play much quicker or do way more moves or have much longer combos and make a million plays. Or there's ones that just straight up are stronger. They just do more than our deck does. But you know what? We're really balanced. We have a card effect for everything. We have an easily accessible card effect for everything. And we get to do that every turn, which is nice. So it's a nice, balanced, stable gameplay across the board in hopefully what will become every turn of the duel. So strategy, obviously win. That's the ultimate goal. We're going to go down this branch here, early game setup. So Sue, summon, that matters for early game setup. And you're going to want your names and attributes to let you get your value off of the Sue immediately. Obviously, if you don't have the Darken Earth or the Darken Fire to get value off of Sue on the opponent's turn, you probably just won't summon her on the opponent's turn. You don't want to make her vulnerable. Then we've got more options, right? Because of these new support cards, there's just more Vanquish Soul cards as options to consider. And the effect to summon from deck, the effect to add to hand with the field spell, there's just more to consider. So the 2 new good cards means 2 new considerations in basically every single situation. So when I normal summon Mad Love, I need to be considering Start and Sue and what each of those gets for me in this moment. And is it worth it to get Start to search Sue based on attributes, or should I just go for like the interruption of the Snow Devil or the Dust Devil, or the continue for the extension if I'm going to link climb? There's a lot to consider with this deck. This is a very difficult deck. This is a very mentally demanding deck. And the new support cards, they don't make it much easier. I won't lie. Pick how you win. So that's the cool part about the deck as well. So you can play aggro, very aggressive. Sue enables Borger 1 turn earlier and then facilitates OTKs more because she can steal cards that are big. I think her effect is to steal the highest attack monster the opponent controls. So she can be really good. Like if we were to play Nibiru, for example, we could nib our opponent, summon Sue, take control of the token. OTK becomes way easier. Now, Nibiru's a light, so might not be in consideration, but we go back to the previous slide, shuts down entire turns, right? If Nib ends up being one of those hand traps that shuts down an entire turn in a future format, that becomes true of Holy Sue. So aggro, right? Very aggressive, lots of Borger burns, lots of swinging with big monsters. And there's the control aspect of things, right? New interruption that also enables faster access to more interruptions, kind of what I was talking about before. She summons Rosin. Rosin column pops. Rosin searches Caesar. Caesar's now eligible for a pop on turn 0. So help keep control of the game, really. So the objectives. So early game, you're going to want your foot on the gas. Access to a live Holy Sue and game plan for victory as soon as possible. So you want to get Holy Sue live immediately, if you can. Like turn 0 is when I say early game, I mean like turn 1, turn 0, immediately. And then you're going to want to know what your game plan is for victory. So searching your attributes matters, and also where you use your interaction matters. So like if they normal summon Dormouse, is your game plan to Holy Sue summon Rosin column pop the Dormouse, and just try your best to keep them off of bodies? Kind of like the example that I gave earlier. Or is it going to be, I'm going to wait till they summon a Link 2, and then I'll hit the Splash Mage, and then I'll just hold on to resource. Like, know what decisions you're going to be making with how you're going to be using your cards, because based on every decision you make every single turn, it's going to snowball later on. This is a deck where a decision made on turn 1 has repercussions turn 5 if a game goes that long. Get your cards quick, so it is much easier to get access to all our names almost immediately, which is nice. Holy Sue and the field spell basically print bodies for us, which is really, really cool. I know that the builds that I've been playing, I've been finding that I actually get full attribute count to the point of like, I'm running out of names to search in my deck or to summon out of deck by turn 1, which is so exciting for a deck that, usually you wouldn't even get everything you need till like turn 4. And then the grind game, don't get comfortable. So attributes are way more accessible now. So attribute management loses weight in what is considered quality gameplay. Basically what that means is like, because attributes are more accessible, it is easier to lose track of attribute management as part of your gameplay strategy. And previously you used to have to sit and think about how you use your cards in hand because of their attributes, and everything was way heavier. That is no longer necessarily a worry of ours. Instead, you need to recognize that while we are comfortable having access to more attributes, that doesn't necessarily mean that we're in a good spot. So you might get greedy or shotgun interactions because you feel like, oh, I've got all my attributes, I'm good, I can do this and that. You still need to be smart about where you're using your cards. Like, just because you have access to things that you did not have access to as comfortably or as quickly or as easily before does not mean that the circumstances change. You still need to have pinpoint accuracy on where you interrupt or where you use the interaction you do have. Ultimately, the deck hasn't changed in the number of interruptions that it puts up outside of one, which is a Holy Sue, which theoretically is more often being used to summon a monster from deck than to steal a card. So, I mean, genuinely, you still have the same number of interruptions. You've got the trap card, you've got the Rosin pop, you've got the Caesar pop, you've got Borger to maybe draw a hand trap. You've got the Mad Love bounce, right? I'm just saying, like, the deck, while it has certainly gotten better and made a big jump, there's not necessarily that much more that the deck does with a good turn if it went first than what it's doing right now. It just, this is where the turn 0 stuff comes in and why it's so significantly impactful. Proper effect usage. So doing too much too soon, I was just talking about this. Doing too much too soon will hand your opponent a chance to win. we should be unbeatable in a grind game. However, we don't have the game security of other decks negates, even after we've established a board. So this is true, right? More often than not, actually most of the time, I struggle to think about grind games that I've lost playing Vanquish Soul just because of how awesome this deck is at grind games. The way that you retain your resources, the way that you snowball into advantage, the fact that Borger is just a ticking time bomb of doing 3,000 damage every, basically by their draw phase, they've taken 3,000. The trap card burning for 18. Grind games are virtually unlosable with this deck. As long as you're not playing against another version, like another Vanquish Soul player. That being said, we don't set up negates the way that other decks do, so our opponent will get the chance to play. They're going to get to use on summon effects. They're going to get to use, spell cards that do this and that and trigger this and do all that, right? So it does matter where we use our interaction because we can't just say no. You look at decks like Malice, they set up Allied Gotaker, that's a negate, they can play Impulse. We can't do that, right? I think the closest thing that we have to a negate is like, if we choose to play Imperm, So, which I don't think we will. I don't think we should, personally. I guess Ash Blossom, also a negate, but like, it's not in engine. Okay. Things to prioritize. Awareness. Know every card that has been made public, where it is, and what it does. I'm a big believer in the idea that every decision that a player makes gives you information. So if my opponent does not use prayers, Mitsurugi prayers, and draw phase to search a card, that typically tells me that they don't have prayers, because why would you open yourself up to draw like that when you can just use it in the draw phase, play around the draw, and not give yourself the trouble? So now I know, okay, one of those 5 cards in their hand, hey, they don't have prayers. And again, this is a situation where like a really good player will be able to interpret that outcome is occurring in my head, and maybe they decide to hold the prayers so that they can chain it to a draw or something. Or they can use it to like dodge an interaction because, I didn't see it in draw phase. They probably don't have it. I can imperm this normal summon Saji. Sure. I'll just chain the prayers to the imperm. It's like good players are players that can make those reads. Great players are the players that can recognize that the opponent is going to be making those reads and then play differently to adjust around that in ways that aren't going to be severely consequential. I'm going on this whole other rant. Basically, know every card that's been made public, where it is, and what it does, because that's going to help you determine how to use your interaction. You need to, like I just mentioned it earlier, every decision you make matters, and it matters 3 turns from now. So keeping track of all public information at all times is basically going to make making decisions easier for you. That's how you're going to win games. If I know that my opponent has a Bestial in hand, then Rosin to column pop the Dormouse as my only interaction probably should not be used. I should hold it for a more impactful moment in the combo because I know they have a Bestial. Why would I just pop that and then let them just go, oh, okay, sure, here's a Bestial, some banish the Dormouse, some back the Dormouse, keep playing. But if I don't know that they have the Bestial, I might just be like, oh yeah, Dormouse, I got to stop that. It's just one of those situations where like knowing information and retaining information is going to make a big difference. Consideration. So what is your missing piece? Do you lose too much value by playing around your weaknesses? Am I missing an earth? Am I missing fire? Am I missing dark? Am I missing a second fire? Basically what am I missing? How am I going to play around that or become accustomed to that? And then do you lose too much value by playing around your weaknesses? This hand loses to Nib. So I'm only going to summon 4 times. Okay, well, how big of a difference, how much weaker is your end board if you only summon 4 times versus if you summoned 7? And then another one would be like, for example, there are times where I will normal summon Rosin, activate the effect, and then chain Borger targeting Rosin because I know that I'm going to be searching a dark or something. And if I get drolled on the Rosin search, I want to be able to chain the Borger to draw a card. But now what I've done is introduce a vulnerability to Veiler or Imperm, where if they held it because they were worried about me having a tag out in my hand, but I choose to bounce back as a chain to the Rosin search, now they can go, oh, okay, sure, here's an Imperm. And now the Imperm's going to resolve and negate Rosin. And now my position's way worse because it's like, okay, well, maybe I have a dark in hand to draw a card here, but I didn't get my search. No! Things like that, right? Or, times where like I'll normal summon the Mad Love to search the Snow Devil as my first search because I don't want to get drolled. But how much worse is my turn if I do that? Like if I get drolled, I don't get access to my trap card. It's like, oh crap, now I don't have a game plan for the next turn. So I have to stop and consider, what does my end board look like if I play around the droll or I play around the nib versus if I don't and I don't get drolled. This is like something that I do a lot with my coaching clientele. Is basically, okay, well, we'll run the lines of, this is what happens if I play around droll. This is what happens if I don't play around droll and get drolled. This is what happens if I don't play around droll and don't get drolled. Decision making. Know why you're making every decision and what to do if it doesn't work out. So I know why I'm normal summoning the Mad Love, because getting the trap card really matters to me. Oh, that got impermed? Okay, well now what do I do? Okay, well, I link one into rock summon Rosin search, yada yada, right? It's more about, oh, I'm gonna leave Mad Love on my end board because I have a Dark and an Earth in hand and I can bounce a card. Or basically, you have to know why you're doing what you're doing. This should be pretty self-explanatory, honestly. This kind of feels like I'm beating a dead horse or reiterating things. Basically, just don't make a decision for no reason. Don't just play blind. If you're going to make a decision, you're making it for a good reason. Make that, have a backup plan if it doesn't work out. That is, if you have the luxury of a backup plan, if it doesn't work out. It's a lot of the time, things just happen. Bad things just happen. And you didn't have the luxury of playing around that droll. Okay. The SWOT analysis. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Sorry, I need that water. Okay. Strengths. More value per card, which is nice. This deck, basically, every single Vanquish Soul monster in this deck, or Vanquish Soul card in this deck, is better than your average card in basically every single other deck. So, card for card value-wise, the Vanquish Soul deck is really good. You also only really need 3 extra deck spots. That's kind of changed now to 4, where it's like, okay, 3 rock and a rocks. It's kind of like a 2 rock and a rocks now. You really do only need 3, maybe 4 extra deck spots. The rest are flexible, kind of based on what build you're playing. It is extremely versatile. That's true. This is a toolbox deck. You have a card for every scenario. It is built for grind games. Also true. Wins in time. That's also true. It's very easy. And then this is a new addition. Turn 0 gameplay. Big buff. Very nice. I like it. Opportunities. You can play generic power cards. This deck's very good at just sort of throwing in whatever non-engine is good for the format and being like, okay, we're just going to toss you in there, because the Vanquish Soul engine is so self-contained and so powerful card for card that you can play most of like the generic power cards that exist in the game. Think like when Tikaboo was at 3 or Shifter was at 3. If it fits the attributes, you can play it. This is technically true, right? If it fits the attributes, you're kind of getting double value out of a card. So while a card might not have been as impactful in other decks, it is suddenly more impactful in your deck because you also just happen to get the value out of the attribute being in hand. Like Chaos Hunter, for example, in Vanquish Soul, it's a dark in hand. So, hey, I get my double value out of that. Nice. I am currently not playing Chaos Hunter, but I was in other builds previously. Can beat anything. This is also true. Even like Towers decks or, like Fluwanderies, just like weird nonsense decks. You can beat it. There are times where I'll be staring down at Towers. I'll just be like, oh, okay, well, I'll just burn you with Borger for the win. Ha ha ha. Cards good against the deck are getting hit / less popular. This is also true. Cards that are good against the deck have continuously gotten hit on the ban list. I'm thinking like Gozen, Rivalry. Trying to think about like recent examples of something that got hit. What made me write this? I'm trying to think about like what made me write this. I'd probably have to go look at the last ban list and be like, oh, it was that one. But it is true, right? Like the cards that this deck is weak to are things like the Feather Storms of the world, and I mean that's about to get banned. God, knock on wood. Hopefully that card gets banned. Or they're just getting less popular. I mean, we're seeing Nib get played in reduced counts. Nib can be pretty strong against the deck as well. I think the only card that is really being played a whole lot that this deck is weak to is Droll, but that's Mitsurugi's fault. That's not Vanquish Soul's fault. Darn you, Mitsurugi. Weaknesses, Droll and Lockbird, slightly less effective now because we have turn 0 plays, so we can play stuff on their turn, and then on ours, and then on their turn again, and then on ours. So if they Droll us on our turn, we'll just play on their turn. Hey, nice. Nibiru, it's easy to play around. This deck does not have to summon 5 times if it doesn't want to. And again, turn 0 plays or the ability to play almost full turns on the opponent's turn with Holy Sue actually gives us even more ability to play around Nibiru. It's like, well, I don't need to summon 5 times because I'll just finish my turn on your turn. Super Poly, this is less easy to play around, but it is doable. Basically, just don't have 2 of the same attribute on the field at the same time. If I know that you're playing Super Poly, I'll reveal for Rosin effect, and then I'll bounce Rosin back with Borger in the same chain, so that when I summon the Xiaolong, now I don't have 2 fires on the field. Or like, I'll always make Rock with a Dark Monster, because I don't want to have Rock and the Dark Monster on board. And if I do, there's times where I'm going to be like, okay, Rock, turn player priority, quick effect to summon. Because Super Poly says that you can't respond to, but it is a quick play spell, so it's a quick effect. So if you're turn player, you actually have the opportunity to use quick effects before they have the chance to use Super Polymerization. Same thing with Nibiru, right? If Rock of the Vanquisher is your 5th summon, you can go turn player priority, Rock of the Vanquisher effect a special from hand. And so now if they chain the Nibiru, the Nib will tribute everything and then you'll summon. Whereas if you don't do that, they'll Nib, and even if you chain Rock to summon there, what you summon just gets tributed by the Nibiru. So, Perulia. Ah! I mean, this is still true. Like, Perulia is a jump scare. They can Perulia us on our turn and then Perulia us on their turn, and it sucks. It's really bad because we summon a whole bunch from our hand on both players' turns. Ah! Bricking. It's not as bad as Brick Eyes, but it is still pretty bad. There are times where I'm looking at my hand of all big names, like the level, like the Xiaolongs, the Caesars, the Borgers, and just absolutely nothing that I can summon. Hopefully Holy Sue helps to rectify those hands. And Dominus Impulse. That card sucked. I hate playing against that card. If I get Dominus Impulse, I'm crying. Basically every single card in our deck has some form of summoning effect. Like, Dominus Impulse hits the following cards. Caesar effect is special. Borger effect is special. Xiaolong effect is special. Stake Your Soul effect is special. Holy Sue effect is special. Holy Sue other effect is special. And worst of all, I guess Continue effect is special. Rock effect is special from hand. But worst of all, it can negate Snow Devil, because Snow Devil has an effect that summons from hand. And if they Dominus Impulse that, I am so mad. We need that card to resolve. Do not like Dominus Impulse. That's probably, like, of all these cards on here, that is my least favorite to have to stare down, funny enough. Threats. Okay, we'll be playing into Thrust harder than ever. That is true. Turn 0 Thrust is about to get played into harder than ever. Talents as well. The correct places to hand trap us become more telegraphed. This is also true because we're giving a lot of information very early, and on top of that, we have to commit to specific things early as well. So like the Holy Sue effects to special from deck is going to matter a lot for our overarching game plan, which means that Ash Blossoming that is basically almost always going to be correct because Sue turns into Rosin. Rosin searches. So ashing the Sue means you make us lose Rosin. I guess you could also hold it for the Rosin search, but now we have 2 bodies. This might end up not being true, but I can't imagine that that wouldn't be the case, right? I feel like correct places to hand trap us just do become more telegraphed now because there are just better cards that exist. And keeping us off of those matters. Overwhelming amounts of information. This is also true. One, we're giving our opponent overwhelming amounts of information. That's just the weak side of the deck. But the second is that there's just so much to keep track of in the game right now that a deck this difficult and a deck this necessary for you to play perfectly, you're gonna have to keep track of all of it. You just will. I'm sorry. Like, you're gonna have to know if this ends up being like a 6 or 7 deck meta, you're gonna have to know how to play and beat all 7 of those decks, or else you're just not gonna do well with this deck. I'm sorry. You just won't. So, yeah, there's a lot of information you have to keep track of. More information than you would with other decks, basically. Just the nature of how this deck is designed. Options. So different builds and options available. Example deck lists. We've got our, I think this is the pure build. Yeah, so we have a pure build post support. Really leaning into like the Ultimate Slayer stuff here. Small World, you got your Holy Sues. This is like a good sample list to like start playing the game with. I like Extrav a lot. You don't need most of your extra deck, so the fact that you can extrav just for free is pretty nice. You know, I like the Bestials. Maybe I'd throw in DD Crow over the Go spells. There are changes that can be made with this, honestly. I do, however, want to talk about the Meowls in the main deck. This is something that I'm theory crafting for a Duad format specifically. Don't know how much I love it. This obviously will not stay the case during Justice Hunters, but it is an Earth in hand, which is nice for the Holy Sue if you draw it late stage. But also thinking about the decks that are going to be good during Duad. Mitsurugi Ryzeal, where, you know, they do summon from grave. The Mitsurugi Ritual monsters summon back and search. The Eclipse Twins summons back. So you'll get, you know, anywhere from like 1 to 3 draws off of that. And then on your turn as well, you can Meowls on your turn. And then if you break their board, or they try to bring stuff back, like, you know, obviously they're going to bring back the Murakumo to board nuke you. Well, you get to draw an extra card to help play through their board. So I like that Meowls, at least on our turn, if we go second, does translate into potentially being able to play through a board, because a lot of like the Mitsurugi stuff or Malice stuff involves summoning from Banish or from Grave on our turn as a means of interacting with us. Meowls will also be good against Lunalight. It's going to give us anywhere from like, what, 3 to 5 draws, I think, which is going to be really nice. So I'm just theory crafting with that. You know, Orchist, Mitsurugi, Lunalight, even Blue Eyes, you can get like 1 to 2 cards worth of value out of it. Malice is the really big one, though. Like, that card against Malice is very, very strong, because all of their combo lines involve some form of summoning from Banished or summoning from Grave. So, throwing that out there. I think that that's correct for Duad. Post-ban list for Duad, probably going into Justice Hunters, that's going to change to Perulia needing to be the one to be main decked, because I'm pretty sure like K9 VS needs to be prepared for, and like a draw phase Perulia on your own turn to make sure that they don't use K9 or Vanquish Soul cards during your turn to give you draws might actually become relevant. Okay, moving on. Estimated cost of this is going to be between 500 and 700. If you go back and look at the first Vanquish Soul video, the budget on things is way smaller. That is because the cost of this deck has ballooned to ridiculous heights since the support got announced, and because of how well it was doing with K9. Thank God I bought my CRs as soon as the support was announced. Yeah, the Holy Sues, I'm using this price based on the current pre-sale price of Holy Sue, which is like somewhere around 50 to 60. So it's possible that it's closer to this low end 500 here. It's possibly even lower than that. Obviously, I'm including the Charmies here in the price, which is going to jack that up even more. If you don't want to play the Charmies, you don't really have to, which is the cool part. So you could probably get this much lower. But moving on to the next option. This is Kashtira Regenesis Vanquish Soul. This is a 60 card pile deck. The Regenesis stuff is definitely an interesting thing to throw into the mix with Vanquish Soul. You've got your Earths, you've got your Fires. They can contribute. They are also free summons. Unicorn giving you the opportunity to rip cards out of your opponent's extra deck is nice. It also partners well with the Regenesis cards. Fenrir obviously being able to give you a free body is nice as well. It's also an interruption. The Bestials all have 2500, which partners well with the Regenesis stuff. Borger, 2500, Regenesis. You don't need your normal summon for any of these cards as well, which is nice because you just get to print free bodies that are really big. I don't know if I would recommend this build, but I think it's cool. I mean, you don't really need your extra deck for it either, which is also nice. So lets you play, lets you play set rotation, which I think is cool as well. I think set rotation is really awesome. It outs Ryzeal Cross. It outs Malice and Underground. So if you go first, you can chain it to the cross or to the underground, and suddenly that card goes away. Very nice. I'm not going to goof around with this personally. It's just an option. I was talking about like options that we have for the decks for complementary engines. Regenesis and Kashtira are both kind of that, which I think is good. The biggest issue is that Holy Sue giving us turn 0 plays makes the Kashtira cards worse because we're now more than likely going to have bodies on board. But that's also what Haggard Lizardos in the extra deck is for. Basically, let's say we summon the Holy Sue, which summons the Rosin, which searches yada yada yada. We can just turn any 2 bodies into Lizardos. Lizardos target one of their monsters, banish itself, draw a card, summon the Unicorn, Unicorn starts birth. Just throwing that out there. Estimated cost between 700 and 900. It's a 60 card deck with Regenesis and Kashtira. I mean, obviously it's going to be more expensive. We got all the Charmies in the side deck. Like, you probably don't have to build it to be this expensive. I'm just going estimates based on the list that I put on there. I'm just trying to be a responsible content creator for you guys. This will more than likely be the build that I am playing. This is almost guaranteed to be the list that I'm playing. Might make some minor tweaks here or there, but I mean, like, I think this is going to be it. When we go through the gameplay side, I'm going to show you what gameplay of this looks like, and I'm going to give you a combo for this that I came up with long time ago, actually, when the support first got announced. Like, basically within a day of the support getting announced, I had dropped this new combo in the Vanquish Soul Discord that I really like, and I can't wait to show it to you guys. But basically, it turns Engraver into, I think it's like 9 interruptions by itself. Like, 1 copy of Engraver turns into 9 interruptions by itself, and all 3 attributes in hand. You'll see. You'll see. I do want to cover the Meowls is in there for the same reasons it was in the previous one. I do want to cover the side deck a little bit here. As you see, Power Sync Stone exists. Shout out Hunter Lloyd, my teammate Hunter Lloyd here at Team Top Cut. We were talking about it. This card seems pretty good for Vanquish Soul, especially because of the way that our deck works. We have a lot of quick effects available to us, and this gets counters on it each time that a monster effect is activated. So what'll happen is we'll go like Chainlink 1 this, Chainlink 2 this, Chainlink 3 Power Sync Stone. And so now the opponent can't use monster effects for the turn, basically. Or it's the effect, I think it's the effects on field are negated or something. So it's La Toxica. And then that just resets every turn. So if we ever want to get rid of our own Power Sync Stone, we just go on our turn, Caesar effect to pop it. Great, outstanding, awesome, it's gone. Estimated cost is going to be between 650 and 800. The Fiendsmith cards, some of these cards are still expensive. The Lacrima, the Tract, the Requiem. We have all of the Charmies in here at 3. Again, those are probably cuttable or swappable for other cards. This includes the Vanquish Soul support. This is expensive, but if you have the cards already, you know, definitely an option for you. And then this is kind of what I want to get into right now. Most of this conversation has been about Duat. I've gotten a little bit into Justice Hunters, sort of like teased Justice Hunters. This is the future of the deck. This is just an example list. Again, don't take this list as gospel. This is just what I found online that I've sort of made do with, I guess. I didn't put too much time into it. I focused more on like getting something ready for this video. This is the future of the deck. Come August 2025, this is what we're going to be looking at. It is just a whole bunch of turn 0 summoning from hand nonsense gameplay. That I actually expect to have a very healthy impact on the game. You look at the game now, it's did I draw the silver bullet? Did I turn skip you? The fact that, you know, 2 of the 3 decks that are coming in Justice Hunters are decks that have turn 0 plays available to them, I love, because that means that both of us are playing on both players' turns. So it's not a, did my turn get skipped? Can I skip your turn? It is now a, we're both playing on both players' turns. It's going to be a lot more skillful than I think some people are expecting it to be. Personally, I'm looking forward to it. quite a bit, actually, quite a bit. I also like that we get to play Pankratops again. Woohoo. Pankratops deals with Yummy's entire end board by itself, basically, which I think is awesome. I love when Vanquish Soul gets to play Pankratops. I love it. I love it. Okay, moving on. Estimated cost, question mark, but probably expensive. All of, like, half of this deck is already extremely expensive as it is. Now, let's add in the Canine cards on release. Oof. I dread to think. I dread to think. Okay, we're going to move over to gameplay now. We're here on Dueling Book. Oh, not Blue Eyes Albaz. That was for the Blue Eyes one that I just filmed previously. That is default. Perfect. Okay. I'm going to solo, and I'm going to run a combo. This is a combo that I want to show you that I was just talking about. I need... Okay, not bad, right? This gets us Rosin, searches Su or Xiaolong. Probably Xiaolong reveals summon. Yep. Anyway. Go through. I need a hand with Engraver, not tracked. I need Engraver specifically. It's kind of the downside of this particular combo is I need Engraver specifically. You know what? I'm just going to rig my hand if I don't see Engraver. Oh, there it is. Perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to put to top of deck. I'm just going to put everything else away because the other 4 cards don't necessarily matter. All right, here's the combo. I think you guys are going to love this. I personally love this. Give myself a little pat on the head. Engraver for tracked for Lurie for Requiem, Lacrima. This is all pretty traditional. Lacrima's going to send Engraver, obviously. Yada yada. Requiem to equip. Contact Fuse. Engraver to special, shuffling back the Lurie. Okay, so here, nib check. If they nib us, great, outstanding. We have 4 other cards in our hand to play with. Perfect. If they don't nib us, they probably don't have nib because, I mean, nib's not going to get any value right now if I make Caesar. Wave High King Caesar. So we're going to make sequence. Sequence effect. This is where we sort of branch off from the traditional combo. We are actually going to be shuffling back the Lacrima and the Requiem, which usually you're shuffling back the Engravers because Lacrima and Requiem are interruption on the opponent's turn. We aren't playing in Paradise in this list because we're playing the Unchained stuff instead. So Aerial Leader is going to send the Dr. Madlove, which is a Fiend. Then we link 2 into Yama. Yama will add Sharvara. Aerial Leader effect, banishing the 2 Engravers. So summon back. Link 2 for Soul of Rage. Now we're going to go Sharvara effect, targeting the Soul of Rage. Special summon and pop. We're going to go Chainlink 1 Sharvara. Not Sharvara, I'm sorry. Chainlink 1 Soul of Rage, targeting the Madlove. Chainlink 2 Yama. Banish to special. Add to hand. Now we're going to link 3. We are currently Fiend locked, by the way. Fiend locked. So we're going to summon Promethean Princess. Use her effect to special summon back Sharvara. Now we're going to link 2. Oh, whoops. Link 2 into Sunlight Wolf. And we're going to trigger Sharvara effect. We probably should have done this when we made the princess, but whoops, I'm going to set that. I'm sorry, it's late. I'm tired. We're going to set the chamber off of the Sharvara effect. Now we get to go into the Vanquish Soul stuff. So all that Fiendsmith plays to get to this point. Fiendsmith, Unchained, everything is leading up to right now. Where I'm going to normal summon the Madlove, go Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2, targeting Sharvara. This gets added back to hand, and then Madlove will search start. Next, I'm going to activate start, declare its effect, targeting the Madlove. This lets me add a Vanquish Soul of a different attribute. That is going to be the Holy Sue. Then we will link 1 into Rocket the Vanquisher. Rock will add back the Madlove to hand. And then we use Holy Sue's effect, where we reveal the other Vanquish Soul monster in our hand to special summon herself. That'll go here. And then we're going to use her effect, revealing a fire and a dark. We special summon from deck, Vanquish Soul, Rosin, who will then use his effect to search either Caesar, right? Ow, my hand. Caesar, because we want all 3 attributes in hand. Just for the sake of the vacuum, I'm going to do that. Now, again, we have 4 other cards in our hand with this combo, by the way. This was off of just 1 engraver. So there are currently 7 cards in our hand. So if we have another dark or another earth or another fire, like maybe this ends up being a Xiaolong instead of a Caesar, because then we also get to search Caesar off the Xiaolong. Who knows? So here we have all 3 attributes in our hand. We've got the fire, dark, earth. At the end phase, start is going to set the Snow Devil from deck. I've got the Rosin in their EMZ, threatening them with a column pop. I've got the Sue to steal, also with a column pop. I can summon a Mad Love from deck to bounce a card, because Mad Love has an effective bounce, and I have a Dark and Earth in hand. The steal as well. I've got Princess, which is nice. I've got the Chamber to summon back the Soul of Rage to link off their monster into SP to banish a card on summon and then have the effect to banish 2. There's just a lot of options. Which I think is really cool, which is really fun. So if we're counting the number of interruptions that occur based off of 1 copy of Engraver, we have Rosin to column pop, Sue to steal or summon another interruption, Caesar in hand to pop, the Chamber to summon back the Soul of Rage. Soul of Rage links off 1, summons the SP Little Knight, which banishes a card on summon. SP Little Knight on board banishes another card as like a chaining to an effect. Princess Engrave, so that's what, 7? The Snow Devil board nuke, that's 8. The Mad Love bounce, that's 9. Off of 1 copy of Engraver, we got 9 interruptions. 9. That is ridiculous. And again, that is not including the 4 other cards in my hand. I could have like Ash Blossom, Ghost Spell, Phantasme, and I don't know, Nibiru or whatever, right? That's just insane. That is just insane how good this is. This is why I'm so hype about it, because it's like, wow, what a crazy, crazy combo for Vanquish Soul, right? 1 copy of Engraver, a Light Fiend is full Vanquish Soul combo. Those who know me know how much I love Fiendsmith Vanquish Soul. I won't shut up about it in the Vanquish Soul Discord. But yeah, okay. That's just kind of what I wanted to show off. Let me hop back over here, go back to slideshow, and then boom. That's the end. We've made it to the end of the player prep series for Vanquish Soul. Thank you all for joining me for this. This has been an absolute delight. I'm really excited, not just to play the deck more myself, but to play against the deck more. I think that the Vanquish Soul mirror is one of the most fun mirror matches in the entire game, and genuinely skill intensive, which is really cool. I think when this game is skill intensive, it's better in general. I know nobody likes a RNG heavy format, so okay, yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot more Vanquish Soul content coming up. I promise. There's a lot to discuss. Like, oh, Rescue Ace, Impulse, and Fire Attacker. Is that worth a look-see? What about this Power Sink Stone card? What do you think about that? Things like that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thank you all for being here. Brendan out.